So welcome everybody. Feel free to turn your cameras on and give us all a wave. I know that this constant zooming is tiresome, and if there's an opportunity for you to, come off, put your camera on and show your face, that would be much appreciated. I'm sure Fred would also like to see who he's talking to. It can be a bit disconcerting if you're not quite sure who's in the room. But anyway, welcome to the Macquarie Incubator Leaders, Innovators and Disruptors series. My name is Melissa Ryan and I'm the Director of Incubation and Entrepreneurship here at Macquarie University. We're excited to be in conversation with Fred Schebesta today. I'd like to start our event today with an acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which Macquarie University is situated on, the Wallumattagal clan of the Darug Nation, and pay my respects to the elders, both past, present and emerging. I would also like to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today, whose cultures and customs have nurtured and continue to nurture this land since the Dreamtime. I'm currently on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I would like to also acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of my local area. So we always encourage people in our events to post in the chat where they're joining us from and say hello, and also note the traditional owners of the land on which you are joining us from. Today, as I said before, we are fortunate to be talking again with MQ alumni and co-founder and CEO of Finder.com, Fred Schebesta. For those of you who don't know Finder.com, which I'm sure there isn't many, it is one of the largest international comparison sites of money apps, helping users compare products across 105 different categories, ranging from insurance, home loans, to shopping deals. Finder employs impressively over 450 people globally in 80 countries. Fred has also just published a book called Go Live, 10 Principles to Launching a Global Empire, which is currently an Amazon #1 bestseller, where he shares his lessons learned with others interested in taking the path less trodden. Whilst Fred is a successful founder, experienced investor, and has created significant wealth, what I remember most from our first chat with Fred was his authenticity, honesty, and generosity in sharing his own personal journey to get where he has. What also struck me is Fred has given himself permission to shine and be himself, taking on his failures as precious learning opportunities, embracing an open and genuine learner mindset that many people talk about, but very few live. Welcome, Fred.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. What an honor.
No, well, we always want to hear from people that have had a relationship with the university and whatever their experience was. Hopefully there were some positive aspects that came out of your experience. So yeah, welcome today. And it's really a great pleasure to have you again. Like I said, last time we spoke, it was just such a pleasure to have someone that had such authenticity and was willing to be vulnerable about his stories, which is, as you know, you don't often find in the world of business. So I thought I'd kick off with a Macquarie University focused question. And I wanted to know, how important was it for your parents that you attended university, or was this a personal desire of your own?
Oh, look, I didn't really know what I was doing. I finished school when I was 17, so I was pretty young. And I started actuarial studies and computer science. So I was relatively good at mathematics, but actually I was actually really bad at, not bad, but like I wasn't great at statistical mathematics and probability, which is actually the centerpiece of actuarial studies. And so that was a bit of a problem. Actually, another thing is I just focused a bit less on that. I sort of stopped going to those kind of courses and I started doing just more financy stuff. And I kept doing my computer science. I did sort of second year, third year stuff. I actually discovered my university transcript the other day because I was applying for my E3 visa to go to America. And this is a slightly damning confession, but I actually failed programming languages, which is quite amazing considering that I coded the Finder website in the beginning, and I couldn't quite, probably didn't comply with what was required, but I learned the things that was needed from university. So I just want to, I don't know, maybe I just want to try and categorize that as, yeah, maybe I wasn't the glowingest academic student, and my records probably, you can, yeah, I'm sure Macquarie, you guys can find them. But that doesn't mean I didn't listen. And that doesn't mean that I didn't do the work that I wanted to take from it, the learnings that I wanted from Macquarie. And I spent a lot of time in the computer rooms and, learning databases and languages. But then I would go home and or in my college room actually at Dunmore Lang, and code internet websites. So I just want to flag, just because you're not the best student at university, and I don't think I was the best academic for what the courses were teaching. I actually think I was a very good student of learning and education, if that makes some slight sense, if it's a bit of a leap. But so I'm just trying to submit, just because you're not the number one student, if you understand the concepts and understand them really well and apply them in other places, that's ultimately what I think matters. And I actually failed another thing. I also failed financial statement analysis, just so everyone's aware. So that is pretty much reading a profit and loss, a balance sheet and things like that. So just to put this out there, and I do that obviously in many countries, and I can talk very actively about entire financial statements of companies. It's just that I took the information and I used it in other areas. So I hope that's a damning confession to open there.
No, not at all. I think that's awesome. I think the fact that you're taking something practical from it and applying it, and I suppose with coding, it is such a practical and applied way of learning, whereas a lot of stuff, at universities can be very conceptual. So I think what you're saying is really valuable, because that's something we embrace at the incubator. Because as a founder, that you have to learn quick and you have to apply that learning to build. And I wondered, sort of leading on from that, what was your parents' position in regarding to business creation and self-determination as a career pathway?
I think, again, once I started sort of not doing the best at university, that was probably a little bit spicy in terms of a conversation, I got to say. And yeah, probably, I kind of had a massive fight with my parents when I was 20 and I left home subsequently. Just to give context as well, their trajectory and their life journey was around the doctors, and you go to university and you learn and you then apply that, and it is about science and learning and execution and risk reduction in that sense. But I think my journey was more take on risk and go to do things that no one has done, and explore, and don't do what other people have done, because you're not going to be different. And I think that's maybe potentially slightly in my nature. So there was probably initially it took a while to gain context there, but then I just started this business, and I think they were like a bit shocked by that. Just to give context, this is sort of 2001, and in 2001 there were no incubators in Macquarie University. There were no, entrepreneurship was not looked upon how it's looked upon 20 years later. It was there were few and far between. There's just not that many. There were small businesses but there's not like a startup community and an incubator and innovation hubs and all those kind of things. That wasn't really a thing. And so it's kind of like I was set up on a course to nowhere, and I think that was probably a bit confronting. But then when they realized that I was genuinely building businesses and making money, they went, oh, he's like really committed. And one thing my parents know about me, and they learned very early on, is that you can't influence me on my direction. And they stopped trying to do that. You can say stuff and I'll listen, but I'm going to make my own decision at the end of the day. And I think that's really important, right? In terms of particularly being an entrepreneur, you're the ultimate person who's responsible, and taking that ultimate responsibility for your wins and losses. I think that was probably relatively tough. And another thing that probably was tough was, and this is probably, I learned this, I'd say 20 years later, again, after university. But and this is no harm, no foul. So I'm just gonna, if I can say this, but I learned the efficient frontier hypothesis at university, which was basically that all markets remove all the efficiencies. And that's true to some extent over time, definitely. But in every new market, there are gross, huge inefficiencies that you can leverage. And so I think that probably there was that part of the equation, in the internet early on, there was lots of money to be made. There's lots of money to be made in cryptocurrency. It's grossly inefficient. And so just because, obviously the theory is eventually, arbitrages and inefficiencies come, efficient frontiers happen. That's not actually true. That's not how the life works. There is so much opportunity out there to create businesses, and there's not every problem has been solved. Not everything is efficient. In fact, it's probably the opposite. There's so much abundance out there. So, that was something I felt a little bit probably discouraged by, because that was the theory at the time, is that every market's exactly perfect and supply and demand is exactly the same, which is completely not true. It takes a long time for that to happen. Even like, the supply of spoons probably is relatively efficient now, but the supply of Bitcoin and its determinant of price is not efficient at all in any way, shape or form. And so, even stocks have inefficiencies, and high frequency traders go and, take advantage of that and arbitrage that all the time. And so I just want to try and contextualize that some of the things. This is no harm, no foul. It's just probably my interpretation of what I learned of the efficient frontier. And I was sort of, I just didn't really interpret that. And I think I want to just submit another thing, maybe to my advantage, is just because of my sort of borderline rebellious nature and doing things sort of my way and going different ways, probably served me really well when I was young. So I didn't go and take a job. I took small jobs every now and, in Pizza Hut call center, and I drove food and, taught maths and maybe for a month, 6 weeks. And then unfortunately I would just leave, because I'm a terrible employee. I'm the worst person to employ. I would never employ myself. Unless I'm isolated in like a small team, then I'm mildly contribute without trying to take over the place. And so, given that nature, I actually think it was to my advantage that I rebelled in that sense and went my own way, because I learned every single lesson and made every single mistake when I was young. I was 20, 21, 22, running a business. I had no idea what I was doing. Zero. I had no experience. I didn't know what payroll meant. I didn't know. I would learn the most fundamental things of management, managing people. It's like, like you do your project team meet things, and there's a leader, and then someone checks up that people are actually doing what they're saying they're doing. I didn't really have those skills in the beginning. I didn't know that was what you're supposed to do. So, all those lessons, but what I wanted to try and what's instructive from that, and what I think is, if you're looking to start a business, start when you're young, because those hits that you take early on, they're just not going to affect you as much, because you don't have as much to lose. You've got, if you crawl up, go from like your ground level up one step up versus you're already 100 steps up, falling one step down doesn't really hurt that much. Falling 100 steps, that hurts a lot, and so start now, because you just get more and more responsibility as you get older. I've got 3 kids, and mortgages and stuff these days, and I'm still obviously trying and experimenting and taking risk, no doubt, and that's never going to stop. But I'm in a much more stable place personally, and I can do that. I can play from a position of strength, and that's because I took a lot of risk when I was young. So I don't know. I know I'm sort of going off track here, Melissa, but I'm just trying to share as much as I possibly can. And if anyone has a question, just type it in the chat, and I will traverse to that direction as best I can. I hope, Melissa, that's okay.
Just 100%. I think that's where people get a lot of value, and we've got a lot of students in the audience, so that's perfectly awesome for them, I think. And I just wanted to then the next thing I wanted to talk about was really your book, Go Live. I just wanted to work out what sort of triggered that? What inspired you to write a book?
I've got it. Here it is.
Oh,
And
funny that.
I got a bunch of copies over there as well that I'm personally signing. It's really arduous signing copies of books. It's intense. So, I think, 20 years of building businesses and taking risks. I've built a business in the US. I've built a business in the UK, Poland, been to the Philippines and set up a company there. And I've been to Korea to, do deals in unusual characters in Gunyam around cryptocurrency. And, I've done a few things, I've touched a lot of wires, and I've experimented with a lot of things in business. And I looked back and I looked at all the things that did well and the things that didn't do so well. And I was thinking, like, what is consistently the key principles in that? Like, what fundamentally are the truths regardless of the situation? And what are those principles that I would suggest to anyone starting a business, that if I knew, 20 years before, hey, if I read this, it would just give me at least an extra, I'd say like extra 2% chance. Because, when I think about any business venture or any opportunity I look at, I reckon I have probably about 10% of the information always. And I know if you do a lot of research, you're probably going to get to 11. Maybe this book will give you an extra 2, so you get to 13. And I'm hoping, your 13% will do better than your 10 when you roll the dice. And I think that's just reality, right? That's just the level of risk. It is a borderline illogical thing to go and start a company. That is not a logical idea. That's an extremely high risk activity to go and do. And if you want to live a very comfortable, rational, low risk, don't take any risk in life, go through and get a reliable outcome, starting a business is not necessarily the best path, because it's a guaranteed non-straight line. You're going to go up and you're going to go down. So given that circumstance, if you're up for that, you're prepared for that, I think I've stuck at that and continue to do that. And what that has actually allowed me to do is gain a lot of, I made a lot of mistakes. I also made some other decisions that actually turned out pretty good, like, all in all. And that has created a very comfortable and nice lifestyle for myself, where, I don't worry too much, about money as much as, maybe in the beginning, where I literally used to, eat tin spaghetti, and I would go to all, networking events to eat the hors d'oeuvres because I was hungry. We didn't have very much toilet paper in our shared house, so we used to borrow a few rolls from the restaurants. But I've been back to those restaurants and I paid them handsomely with tips, so I made sure of that. So, yeah, it's just any suggestion if you are hustling deep. Magazines are not the key. The newspaper is much nicer. So just a heads up on that. Yeah. So I started from that level, and that taught me everything about cash flow. It taught me everything about decisions I've made, and I felt every single one. And this book is the stories. It's very simply written. It's like an easy read. It's not like I compare it to, like, I don't know if everyone's read The Intelligent Investor. So I keep this on my desk, actually. I don't know if everyone knows Ben Graham. It's Warren Buffett's basic entire book and thesis about how to value invest. It is a hard read. It's like, I've tried at least 7 times, and it's just a journey. It's like heavy. Go Live is like, literally, you can just, it's like when you're hungry and you just want a fast meal and you go and get some fast food, you can easily just get the food in your mouth very easily and digest it quickly, and it goes down, and then you're not hungry anymore. That's what this book is. It gives you an immediate injection to go live, get fired up, get in the right mindset, give you some stories, and get going now. That's why it's called Go Live.
So it's around investment as well, by the sounds of it. If you're talking about Warren Buffett and you're looking at those sort of, how to approach investment in stocks and shares and things like that. Is your book also blended? So it's not
about necessarily, the stock market and things like that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say markets, but any business, let's break that down, Melissa, if I can pick up on that, is exactly the same thing. Building a business is just a capital investment. That capital could be your time, and you have a certain amount of time and you deploy that into the business. It could be your motivation, it could be your health, it could be your friends' help, it could be other people's help, it could be employing other people to go. That's just capital allocation. And capital allocation is the exact same thing as investing. You're going to either buy this stock or you're going to go buy some extra staff to go and deploy into your business. It's the exact same thing in those decisions. So this is more about mindset of starting. So getting over is this going to work? How do I deal with that problem? Like, I'm paused. I literally don't know. I'm freaking out. I don't know how to deal with this. And I've had a lot of those situations as well. And it's like how to deal with that, how to keep going live and go forward so you can roll your business out and get it onto the field. I think one of the principles that I love, and I don't know if you're okay if I could quote, is if it's not on the internet, it doesn't exist. That's actually principle 8. So I'm all about getting it out there. If it's sitting on your computer, no one can see it, no one can do anything about it. Do you mind, Melissa, if I pick up on some of the questions in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say there's a couple of questions in there if you wanted to grab some of those.
If you could start a business, I'll just read the question. If you could start a business today, given all that you know and how the economy has transitioned, where would you look to? Well, I think right now there are an enormous a number of opportunities purely because we all, as the human population, just got taught to stay home. We literally, work from home is perfectly comfortable and normal. Now, what this does is it translates to a different construct and a new behavior, right? So if you think about humans and the way in which we used to communicate. So before, let's go back, we'll go to 1700s. Let's say we used to send letters through horse and cart. You put a letter in, you send it around to your friend, takes a few weeks or months, cool. Then, we got to, I don't know exact dates of when the telegram or the Morse code, it must have been near electricity. Let's call it somewhere in the 1800s. There's probably some Morse code and electricity. I could be completely wrong on this, by the way. So forgive me on my exact history. Not the history of innovation is not my area of expertise. I'm sure there's someone at Macquarie in a book that can tell you that, and Google's much better than me at it. Then we went from Morse code, we started looking at the telephone. The telephone was a massive invention because it was real-time, instantaneous. And the telephone line actually from Australia used to go straight over to Burma and actually originally went back all the way to London. That was the first phone line that actually got developed, which is a fascinating idea in and of itself, and actually where the main internet cable goes today. And then the internet came, right? And so you've gone from telephone, we then put fax machines on there, and then we actually put the internet, we send emails, now we send instant chat. Now literally we've got satellites flying over us with Starlink, and we can go on the internet anywhere in the world, anytime, pretty much, and we can send a message, actually have a video call with anyone, right? So let's think about that context. Now, what I need you to do in order to think about where I would start is now just imagine, take yourself forward, given we've all been trained to stay at home and have digital calls, and instead of flying on airplanes, we go and just have a Zoom call or a FaceTime or a WhatsApp or a Telegram or a Signal, whatever it is. And literally, that's how the world's flattened. So now go forward 5 years. What does that mean? What opportunities? Like we've been grinding out this, like you were saying at the start, Melissa, we're grinding out Zoom. It's almost abusive, I feel now. It hurts. So that's a clear opportunity. Must be something we can do there. I think then also, what does this mean in terms of going further? If I was going to put a bet, I'd look at the metaverse idea. So where you sort of go from, you're going to be at home, cool, well, let's go and work in a world and work there, play there. And I think this is starting to happen in cryptocurrency in a massive way. The metaverse is coming. Facebook's putting huge money into the metaverse. Play to earn games in cryptocurrency are booming. I think they're sort of the Nokias of the metaverse world, where literally people are playing in the Philippines games and making money, and in return, which is really whack, they're actually able to pay rent with this new cryptocurrency. And it's literally playing a game makes you money, more money than you would earn in the real world. So I think that space is hot. I think it's massive. And I think it's just a human behavior thing. I think it's been brought forward like 10 years. I feel we're like here. This means like, virtual reality, augmented reality, all those things, I think are going to be massive. And that is the space I would go headfirst into and have a look at. What that means, it doesn't matter. Just get involved, learn about it, get in there and start doing stuff. That's what I would do. And then go and find the opportunity. How do you manage failure? This is from Mark. Thanks, Link, as well for your question. Mark, how did you manage failure, and how did you know when enough was enough if a business was failing? That's really interesting. Like there was a company I started in between. So my first agency, then I paused it for a bit, then I started another agency, and it didn't work. We actually closed it down. And it was just the people involved. It just was never going to get there. The energy wasn't there. It was just naturally, it wasn't going to get there. The wrong motivation, and we just closed it down. The agency, but had lots of dips, so building people's websites, it had lots of dips. How did I know it was going to keep going? I don't know. I just felt I was in the right industry. I just hadn't figured it out. Made too many mistakes all the time. I kept spending money in rogue places, hiring the wrong people, just kept making so many errors. And if we just, stopped making as many errors, and that's what we started doing, we started making money, and then it took off. There's another beautiful feeling, but when you find a business, so from that, I'd say first 7 years of learning internet marketing and building websites, when we were building Finder, the difference was every single thing we did helped us make more money and serve customers better, every single thing. And that's a beautiful feeling. And in that feeling, you want to find that. And there were lots of other sites, other businesses in that meantime, I shut down and didn't work out. And it's not easy. It's not an easy decision, but emotionally, here's one way I'd try and resolve that. If I said to you today that what you're doing in your business, you're going to have to do for the next 10 years, 10 years. So let's just, we've been, doing this COVID thing for 2, it feels like forever, but I don't know, 10 years that you're going to keep doing that. Do you feel demotivated? Do you feel motivated? Do you feel comfortable about that? How do you feel about that? And you should take that same temperature, I'd say, of yourself for the next, let's call it 3 weeks, and take it every morning and write down a little journal to yourself and then review. And if the end of those 3 weeks, if you don't feel comfortable in doing what you're going to do and you're struggling, just find another opportunity. Because it's not your passion. That's not what you love to do. You want to do what you love. I love building stuff and creating internet stuff, and it's cool. I'm going to go for we've got some real hot and heavy questions coming in. So I'll add NFT question. Can I pick and choose, Melissa? I better go from the top.
No,
okay.
You can pick and choose, because they're not always going to be, you've got to follow your passion too, Fred, right?
Okay. Well, I'll honor some, JD, the courageous ones should receive some honor at least.
Exactly.
JD says, how did you handle your worst time during your business life? I exercised, I kept inspired, and, managed those dips, and sometimes just take some time out. That's not easy. If you have a big picture and you don't know what to do next, what would you do? Go and talk to someone who knows how to unpack something into small pieces. There are brilliant people out there. They're not big picture people, but they're really good at executing. And I have lots of people like that around me. And I go and speak to them and ask them, how am I going to do this? And then they tell me. Do you have a business coach? How do you find a business coach matching with your needs? Yes, I do. I'm more of a performance coach, and particularly focused on emotions. So I have an emotional coach, and he's in my book, Craig Hall, and he's amazing. I've tried a few. Psychologists didn't really work for me. This guy literally is so aggressive, and I'm almost borderline sometimes scared, if not in awe of him. So unless you need someone to tell you how it is, and if it's not like that, then pretty much, yeah, I'm going to steamroll over them. So yeah, you're going to need someone who's pretty hectic, can stand in their own skin and handle the stuff that I'm going to say. And you need someone like that to basically slap you in the face. And I'd say over the last 3 weeks, I've had many slaps. So I'm sort of emotionally a little bit sore. So I'm dealing with that. Melanie says, what has helped you through the dips of the entrepreneurial roller coaster? Staying fit, physically fit. I'm not like a marathon runner, but I could run 10Ks right now, but I just grind it out. I don't stop. I exercise, and I stopped drinking as well. That's like, I'm doing socially a whole thing. I'm 3 years absolutely clean, everything, just the cleanest bloke you've ever met. And then that would obviously, I had my time and stuff like that and had fun, but yeah, remove stuff that doesn't help you. Just remove it from your life, delete it. I don't have a Facebook account. I deleted in 2012, literally just delete. Woke up, I don't want this thing, delete. Actually, no, one thing I first did, so here's a secret. I changed my birth date. And I'm 124 in Facebook years old. So whoever sends me birthday messages, yeah, they're not really my friends, if you know what I mean. Long story, but you'll find out your real friends that way. And it's not it's not social suicide. It's actually, you find your real friends and you actually build stronger relationships that are not based upon a digital relationship about a thumb going up. Where are we up to? Yeah, remove the negative energy. Go and audit your friends as well. Literally go through. I'm just going to go off. This is going to be strong chat unless I'm turning it up. Literally, you have to go through all your friends. Literally, all the negative ones, remove them. And all the positive ones, bring them in. And then you want new energy, bring the new energy ones in. Find them, people that make you, go up. They're going to challenge you. They're going to give you straight chat, but bring them in. Don't get rid of the negative ones. Just delete them. Over time, obviously, but in the most respectful, loving, and kind way. But literally, just unsubscribe from all of their content and just say, "Hey, I think we're going different ways in life. Thanks for your contribution, but it's great. We have a different view." And then that's it. And next, you're growing, and if they're not growing, you don't need that. You can't fly with eagles if you mix with turkeys. This is coming hard and fast. How do you know you have the right mindset to be an entrepreneur? You can handle the ups and the downs. You can handle big hits. It's not about how many problems. I've got 99 problems, that's for sure. And I don't know if I should answer the end of that line for any rappers out there, but literally I got so many problems. It's not even funny, right? Like literally all day. But what I'm really, really good at is dealing with it. I handle it. I'm calm. I think about it. I find the right people to go and execute. I figure a way around it. I'm like that creative guy, that literally somehow creates around it. I'll build a bridge, I'll dig a tunnel, I'll break the rock. I don't care what it is, I'll get around it. If you have that mentality, you will be a successful entrepreneur. Understand that we can't be all things when you're at ideation. So this is from Ben. Thank you, Cobra, as well. When you're at ideation, how would you best go about looking for a technical co-founder? This is a task that should be undertaken relatively discreetly. Whilst I'd be happy to see such an idea employed selfishly, it's an idea that I'd love to call my life's work. So just so you're aware, you don't have any ideas, Ben. None of them are actually yours. You didn't create you, and no one, whoever created you as well. So you need to let go of having it's your idea. You don't have any ideas. Once you sit that energy place and understand that when you share your idea with someone else, whether a technical person, non-technical person, that is where your idea that you have been channeled to understand, you go and connect that with other people, it will start to take shape. You have to let go. You don't own the idea. No one does. We don't even know who created you, let alone me. I don't know where I came from, but I honor that. And to bring your idea into the world, to find someone technical, start hanging out with technical people. Just hang out with them. Call them up. Go and hang out at a meetup, and you can't even code the language. I used to turn up to I've done this before. I turned up to an AI event. I didn't even know how to do AI. I just rolled in and just started talking to people. Hey man, what's happening? What's going on? What are you up to? Are you building this? Whoa, that's cool. What is that? And just get interested. And someone in that audience, if you just put you out in the world, your energy, yourself, your spirit, your consciousness, Someone's going to go, I like that. I like your guy. You know, I like people who wear red neckerchiefs. Cool. I want to hang out with you. And that energy is going to be where you will find and attract that person. Because they just want to hang out with you. You're going to go on a long, long journey. I'm going to, forgive me, Ungenie. Thank you, Ben, for your question. I know that was probably very confronting to hear that your idea is not yours. Do you think current NFT ecosystem is a bubble? And what do you think people in IT jobs can do to get involved in NFTs? And what would be the right way to educate ourselves about it? Go and build one. Mint an NFT. Get something, take a picture on your iPhone and literally put it on the internet. Just mint one. Make it NFT. Do it tonight. There's plenty of places to do it. It's going to cost you, I don't know, $50. Go and do it. And now you're in the NFT space. Now you'll find all the problems. Now you'll experience it. Now you can go and start talking to people and having pretty much, you've made yourself 90% more relevant with every conversation that happens after that. You know, go and buy an NFT. Just go and buy like a weird dog or something, or some random thing. I don't know. Go to OpenSea and buy one and figure out the problems. I don't think it's a bubble. I think some of the prices, yeah, they'll be bubbly. It happens. But I do think the whole ecosystem and where it's going and what it's doing, particularly with play to earn, not a bubble. Massive opportunity. It's going to go towards the metaverse. Provenance, which is provenance. In other words, who owns something and where did it come from, is a big issue in human society. Always has been, always will be. That is the reason why marriage exists. Marriage exists because the provenance of your wealth and it being passed on to your family, that's where that whole entire thing came from. Before that, humans never got married. FYI. Okay, where are we up to? Vito, thanks for your time. Thank you for your time, everyone. How do I find a co-founder for my business idea when every person that I know, potential co-founder, has my similar skill set? Well, you're hanging out where it's too comfortable. Go and get uncomfortable. That's part of my book as well. You're hanging out where it's all comfortable. You speak the same conversations with the same people and you say the same things. Nah, now you need to go and talk to people that know more than you about something else. You need to go to somewhere different. You need to go to somewhere new. You need to hang out. Stop typing, delete all your bookmarks and go somewhere new. Go on the internet, get out of Facebook. That's not the internet. And type in something new, something you don't know about, and go to the forums, go to the Discord and start talking to someone that you don't know and build a real relationship with people that are outside your comfort zone. That is where people will hang out that have complementary skill sets to you, that have energy that's different to you, and you will magnify them. And they're actually looking for you right now as well. They're literally going, how do I meet someone who's not in my zone? That's what the universe is putting out right now. And that person you meet, they'll do the same thing. They go, I've been looking for someone like you my entire life. You're like, so have I. Isn't that amazing? You know why? Because, let's go back to the book. I know this is riffing, but it's manufacture serendipity. Principle 5, manufacturing serendipity is about doing things that are outside your comfort zone and going and creating that serendipity of finding that person that you're looking for. And so you need to get uncomfortable. Go and speak to someone. Okay, this is what I want you to do. When you're at your cafe, you know, throughout the week, this week, here's a challenge for you, Vito. When you're going to buy your coffee, I want you to go and speak to the person that's behind you and or in front of you every single time and ask them a genuine, inquisitive question about them as an individual and understand who they are, what are they interested in, what they're passionate about, and purely you're doing that to be friendly. That's it. You're not trying to get a co-founder out of this. You're just putting your energy out there. You're just trying to inquire and learn about another human who's coexisting in your energy space. And I want you to discover something about them that's interesting or inquisitive. And you're going to practice that because you're going to go and do that in your uncomfortable space. That's my challenge for you, Peter. Let's keep rolling. Key lock. At what stage did you hit your first 100K? How soon after did you achieve each one of your financial milestones? For those who don't understand, how important is the compound effect in the world of entrepreneurship? Okay, and this is a couple of questions. Key. I think 100K probably took in my first business took a very long time. I have no idea exactly. It is 100K. I'm shooting it's $100,000 a month. I reckon probably took 5 years. In Finder, it took, I'd say, let's call it 2 years, maybe a year and a half. It's pretty quick. Each one of my financial milestones, I'm not sure anymore. It's a bit hard to, let's just say it exponentially increased and got shorter and shorter. And then it hits a point where you get really high, and it's actually really hard to go from, say, $5 million to 10. 5 to 10 is really hard. Like, you know what I mean? As a growth curve, 0 to 10 grand is like what's that? A huge percentage. 10 grand to 100 grand is 10x. Going from 100 grand to $1 million is 10x, but going from $1 million, say, to 5 million is only 5x. So your exponential growth tapers a bit. Just anyway, that's a focus on that first 100 grand. It's 1.2 mil a year. Let's go to your second question, but I think it's the most important one. How important is the compound effect in the world of entrepreneurship? I think entrepreneurs are, let's talk about entrepreneurship for a second. What is an entrepreneur? So if you look at the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who takes financial risk for a potential gain. A potential gain. It's not guaranteed. There's no guarantee. You are potentially going to gain. Many people do not. Many people do. And what you're trying to do is become one of the ones that do. And in that journey and in that process, what do you create? What is the compound effect of what you create? Well, you deploy capital and you compound it into being worth more than what it was before. That is compound interest, essentially. If your business grows at 20% per year, it will compound over the years and years and years. And obviously, I'm sure there's many smarter people in this room that know the effect of compound interest. And that is an incredible thing because you create wealth for people. You create wealth for your customers. You create wealth for the nation because you pay taxes and you create a sustainable ecosystem and civilization. Entrepreneurship is exactly what I believe we need more of, and it compounds over time by creating more and more wealth. You're welcome, Mark. Hope, Key, that answered your question. Hope, Melissa, I'm okay to keep answering questions.
No, that's fine. It's really interesting. Thanks for that.
I'm literally sort of synthesizing many concepts into these come from a whole plethora of different research and things I've read and understood. Okay, David, let's roll with David. How did you see the need for Finder and what is your long-term vision for Finder? Right now, it's primarily a comparison website, but since you have a large user base, there's a lot more you could do with it. Now, do you plan to extend Finder to areas that you're passionate about, like the metaverse? So how did I just see the need for Finder? I just experimented. I just put 39 websites up and the 40th one just happened to be Finder. And I just experimented. A lot of them I shut down. I'm not that strategic that I figured out. I used to be like very less, I just took lots of experiments. And that was one of them was called Credit Card Finder. And that's actually how it came about. The long-term vision was not there in the beginning. I think that's probably another damning confession. I literally just thought this is a cool business that can make money. And then over time, I learned and adapted to discover that the long-term vision was something that took a while to figure out. And only now, that idea of being, a comparison site, I remember when we wrote that idea down once, that was like actually revolutionary for us because all we thought about was getting to the top of Google and trying to get customers to click on credit cards. That's all we thought the business was. And then we realized, wow, we're actually serving our customer. And what does that actually mean? What is the purpose of this business? And those are hard questions. And the one thing, primarily says comparison website, I've really tried to and this is something, maybe this could be great as well from an incubator's perspective. I've actually recently re-innovated the entire company. So if you use the Finder app, which is a whole new business, which I have, personally been involved with and creating, it's actually, it's a fintech business. It's been bolted into Finder. So it has a wallet. You can buy cryptocurrency inside it. You can buy Bitcoin, you can buy Ethereum. You can also compare and aggregate all your accounts. You can compare your energy and all sorts of things. It has a free credit score, and all of it's free. It's actually a fascinating thing. Basically reinvented the entire company. I could probably go into that in a large way. I don't know if, Melissa, that's interesting or not. but there's a massive journey in that.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really awesome. But if you wanted to talk about, like, I suppose the concepts now, and then we could always have another session where you actually go through that, because I think it's a much bigger, topic area, which you could really delve into, which is, I think, would be interesting to a broader group of people across the university, more generally.
Yeah, how to basically reinvent your business and how to innovate. It's truly innovation. It's not the same. Finder app is not the same as the comparison website. It's like a giant leap forward. And so when I think about innovation, right? So maybe if I can just talk a little bit about this, Melissa's innovation. I think there are two forms of innovation. One is incremental innovation. I think it's really important, and there's a real thirst for that and a need for that in any company, right? And the incremental innovation is, here's an iPhone 10, right? An iPhone 10. You can see, the things, and here is an iPhone 12, right? It's just pretty much the same, same, but it's incrementally improved. And Steve learned that from the Japanese. When the Sony Walkman started, what he noticed was that they made the Walkman, and at first, I don't know if anyone remembers, the first Walkman was bulky and big, and then over time it got smaller and smaller, and they would change incrementally every year and make it more and more beautiful until it got disrupted by the CD. Kaizen, that's right. Anjini, exactly right. Kaizen is incremental, continuous improvement. So that's one form of innovation. Now, the other form is where you take a big leap forward. You go and do something that's never been done before. In other words, an example of this was probably Macquarie University when it first set up its incubator, I could imagine. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it had done that before, but I'm assuming that was a new leap forward. Maybe it modeled off some other universities and learned from that in some small way, but it was a big step forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think the stuff that we'd done at University of Wollongong was sort of the first with Accelerate, and then there was also the Deep Tech, which was ATP Innovation Cicada, which was 4 universities which were across that. So they were probably some of the first movers.
100%. So doing innovation, that's a whole other topic that we can go into, but it's something that I've been working on, and I'm hoping that people don't call Finder a comparison site in the future, David. So hopefully that changes in that perception, and I have a really remarkable product coming out, small, unabashed promotion, but I think instructive to go and research and have a look at is Finder. We were just about to launch a new product called Finder Earn, where you can put your Australian dollars in, and we pay you 4% interest. Now, I don't know if anyone's checked their bank account recently, but
that's significantly more than anybody else is paying.
Right. And I'm hoping that's the same reaction Australians have as well. But yeah, so and it's something which we're leveraging because of cryptocurrency. So that's this is again a disruptive innovation. I think that's going to be quite incredible. Do you plan to extend Finder to areas you're passionate? Yes. So metaverse will take a bit of time, but I don't know whether Finder will ever get there. Maybe not. But I think definitely into other areas I'm passionate about, like decentralized finance, particularly. That's happening right now. So that should be available around October. Join the waitlist. You can download the app so you can get it and have a look. I think it's something very much, I think I'd encourage everyone to study purely just from an intellectual perspective. I'm not encouraging you at any point to use the product. You don't need to use the product at all. If you do, that's great. If you don't, that's fine as well. I just want you to take from it some innovation. Let's talk about NFTs. I agree. We should always talk about NFTs. As a disruptive, this is from Nico. Six Nico. 6.
So the background on that, if you notice the background of a couple of the other team members in the incubator, they're doing a design think tank or a design thinking project at the moment around waste with our students. And so that's one of the team numbers, 6.
Sick. It's a good number. As a disruptive innovator, how did you handle comments when you pitch your fresh business ideas? And how did it make you feel when you don't get the reaction you were expecting? It makes me feel like this. I'm sorry, you're going to miss out. There's only one Fred Schebesta. Train's leaving. All aboard. Didn't get a ticket. Don't want to ride the train. It's fine. Someone else will take your seat.
So you've got to back yourself.
100%. All day, every day. Obviously, you need to go through your ideas and you need to really have done a lot of work. And I have done an extraordinary amount of work on all my ideas that I'm backing. Like in, user interviews, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. I'm not saying you just back yourself blindly. I'm saying you got to do the work. Which I assume that's what you would do in your business. But that emotional moment, Nico, just literally, either way, I'm going to be fine. This isn't your opportunity. Otherwise, I'm sorry you missed out. JD, I guess. Thank you. I appreciate the vote of support and I think everyone here on this call is awesome as well. So sharing that energy with around. Thank you. Rebecca, Andrew. Is that two first names, Rebecca? That's incredible. Or is it two people that are using the same account and one wasn't sure if they deleted the other? When you have a great idea that no one else seems to be doing, how do you get your first client? Interesting. When people don't have experience with what you offer, it can be hard to get that first foot in the door. Any tips would be appreciated. Okay, so if you have something that no one's ever done before, this is again the disbursement of innovation and kind of a related topic, but it's related to the innovation one. Melissa, if we can batch that in there and how you actually get your innovation out there. Breaks down. Can I draw a diagram? I don't know if that's too outrageous, or am I allowed to? Or
you can just share your screen.
Actually, I'll just use.
Or you can draw it on a piece of paper and then whack it up. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this. I think you can learn about this at university as well. All right. So this is how it breaks down. Imagine this is time, and also these are the markets. In the beginning, with any innovation, a very small group of people down here in the bell curve, they're called pioneers. They have the arrows in the back. They've got the raccoon hats on. They're the people that will try your product in the beginning, the pioneers. Then the next ones are the early adopters. They hear from the people with the arrows in the back and the raccoon hats and go, hey, found something really cool. And they go, hey, I want to be cool as well. They're normally like the very, very first customers who bought the Tesla Roadster. The very first one, not the one, the very, very, very first cool Tesla in the beginning. Yeah, they probably own one of those. When the person with the raccoon hat said, hey, this is an electric car company called Tesla, because they went and found it before anyone else, because they were hanging out at the the conferences and they were going around and speaking to people. They're like so into it. And they were like, cool, can I get one of those? These guys were like, what's the newest thing right now? They're like, I want to go and show off to my friends. I want to be that person driving around an electric car when no one else is driving. That's who those customers are. Early adopters, pioneers, early adopters. Then you've got the chasm. Chasm is one of the hardest things to cross. And there's a book called Crossing the Chasm. And you should read about this. And this is where you go and bridge into the early majority, right? This is the late majority, and these are the laggards that don't bother. They've still got a Nokia and they're holding on to it. You're never going to get them. They're using fax machines still. They're sending letters. They're like, yeah, they're not, they just made a PowerPoint this year for the very first time. It's not going to happen. These customers down here do not necessarily translate and sell to these. Some of them do. And you need to find niche little markets in here. So when Europe was...
it's almost like Segway, isn't it, really? Segway really never made it.
Yeah, the pager never made it.
Oh, yeah.
like doctors used it and then didn't get mass adoption. So let's talk about how do you bridge that. So if you go in the very beginning of Apple and look at the computers, in the very beginning, they were actually very big in schools. That was their niche market, massive into schools. And that helped them disperse their innovation. Because like, what is this personal computer thing? Why do I need a personal computer? What am I going to do with that? Like, a bit of a rogue thing to take home. But back then, education was a great space to do that. I don't know where I'm up to with the questions, but I'm just going to have to finish this one. So Rebecca, Andrew, right, 2 first names. You need to choose a niche market to go for that appreciates your product. So when Europe, so if you, okay, here's a really whack thing. If you go and study the American, you can Google this, American military strategy. American military strategy has 2 strategies. There are only 2. They fake going in one way and then they go in the middle. That's strategy 1. The other one they do is they basically say, I think it's the other way around. Literally, I'm going to pretend going up the middle and I come in on the left. That's it. That's all they've got. It's literally a printed PDF you can download and read. What do they do in Iraq? They faked going in the left and they went up the middle. What do they do in Europe in World War II? They faked going in the top, faked going in the side, they came in the top. That's all they did. Why did they do that? Concentration of effort and focus into one single space is what you need to do. You need to service one particular customer with your innovation extraordinarily well. And then what you're going to do is once they landed on in Normandy on D-Day at the beach there, which I had been to, it's a pretty intense place. They didn't go and like, oh, well, let's go down to Italy and go and start up shop down there. They just went to the nearest town next to it and the nearest town by that. And they focused their capital and investment into one place and expanded out from there. They did the same in Iraq. They did the same in Vietnam. This is how it's literally, it's the same strategy. So you need to do the same thing. It's called a boarding strategy of an innovation. You find little pockets, you focus on them, and you over service those customers to then go, if you're focused on dog trainers, let's say dog trainers are your thing. Well, dog trainers are really into, they actually hang out with dog breeders all the time, apparently. I don't know if they do or don't, but let's say they do. Then what you want to do is you service the dog trainers really well. You start talking to the dog breeders and you say, hey, dog breeders, like what kind of features and products and services do you need given that I'm servicing these dog trainers that are different, or are they the same? Do I just need to change the packaging from a breeder to from a trainer to a breeder, sorry. And if that's the case, then you can easily board to the next market. And over time, you'll start to collate all these together to eventually you have a market, which looks like a market. Schools, education is a market. But in the beginning, it was probably schools which focused on high technology. That's probably where the computer started. It didn't go to all schools. It went to like only a few. And so you need to find those, expand them, and then you can take over Europe in the exact same way. Thank you, Rebecca, Andrew. How did you get a signed copy of your book? Or how do we? Well, you can go to fredschebesta.com and there are books there which you can purchase. Radio Energy is contagious. I apologize for that. No, I don't. I think I'm convinced to leave my boring job and dip my feet in business, or at least start in my free time. My suggestion is don't leave your job. Start a side hustle and start it small and start building it up. Keep your reliable income that you can pour that cash flow into your ideas and experiments, and one of them will take off, and then you can go all in. There's no need to like abandon your cash flow. That would be a rich dad, poor dad would kill me if I suggested that. Ben Andronicus, thank you. I love brutal. This is a direct message. I don't know if I'm revealing too much. He says, I love brutal reminders. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, and Jeannie. Najith, talking about metaverse and other emerging technology booming immensely. Are we moving into a dystopian society? Yes. Enjoying your thoughts and tips. Agree, go for it while young, far less to lose. Question, has your opinion around importance and role of intellectual property changed over time? Yeah, Brenton, I think I look at intellectual property like this. If it's executed, rolled out, it's damn hard to go and, someone's going to go and steal your idea. It's already rolled out. Then less people are going to come. Let me tell you something about Australia. This is really important about intellectual property and the difference in Australia and America. And you have an opportunity around this. In Australia, if you go to your friend or someone close by and tell them your idea, they will tell you you have no chance of actually making that idea a reality and tell you all the problems that are going to exist and basically not go and do it. In America, if you go and do that, that person will steal your idea, execute it, and win the spoils. That's what happens. It's a reality. Australia is great. Its tall poppy syndrome is a moat that protects your intellectual property. No one's coming for you because everyone's tearing each other's ideas down. We're like the lobsters that pull each other back into the tank. So just don't worry about it. It's just an investment you don't need. Not until later. My 2 cents. I don't know if I'm accepting 2 cents right now, but maybe. Like the famous words, we are all dead in long term. We should put a thought to sustainability of the idea, but with current tech change, long-term thinking is a handicap. I don't think so. I'm all about long-term thinking and where things are going. I decline your thought around that. I do think people are thinking long-term. I think China does a great job of this. Australia, we basically have a borderline schizophrenic leadership situation every 3 years. We kick everyone out and then we bring new people in. Whereas China actually, regardless of anything, not political, but they actually make 10-year plans and they stick to them long-term. That's a great idea. If you're going to do that in business for 10 years, like with Finder, it tends to actually really lead to sustainable outcomes, and then you can start to really deliver back. I actually believe in long-term thinking, and I decline that. Whatever your idea is, try and think about it for 10 years, and can it be sustainable? 100%. You definitely want to come from that perspective. I actually had kicked it out there to the team once and said, I want you to come back with proposals that will survive for 1,000 years. Think of that. That's really hard to do, but it's fun. But it just stretches your thinking, right? Christine, yes, that would be a fantastic topic. So we can make a note of that, Melissa, I'm sure, around innovation and the disbursement of it, how to do it, how to manage it, I'm sure, hopefully we can serve some more content around that. Kaizen, I agree. The Lotus one.
I think there were responses to previous when you were talking about different things.
I'm not sure yes, the Lotus one, that one. Exactly. Yeah, the Lotus car, it looked like a cool car. That's exactly the one. Those were the early adopters of Tesla that drove around and they look really cool. Exactly right, James. Thank you. Benjamin Wong, thank you for sharing your very interesting entrepreneurial journey. May I ask, what is your morning routine? I've been waking up at around 5 o'clock because the wolf, which is my 8-month-old son who sleeps in our bed mainly now, wakes up and crawls all over my face and screams and makes lots of fun noises and is super cute. And once you get over the mild amounts of disturbance, you admire this young fledgling new startup, which has great co-founders, by the way, great co-founders. And an incredible growth potential as well. I really love the white paper, and I'm actually, long on its innovation and new journey that it's could potentially go and do. And then I go and drink coffee in the morning. I don't know, that's probably bad, but I only have 1 coffee a day. Normally I'll check my phone pretty much immediately. Like, I appreciate everyone probably, phones aren't good, whatever. I do. And I check my phone. I think I'm a good 6.5 hours a day activity, sometimes 7. Like, you look at that activity monitor thing. I try and put everything on my phone because I can always be doing my business stuff. What do I do then? I'm probably on a call. So I started my calls this morning at 6 a.m. With the US, and those calls were like Zoom calls. Then I spent some time meeting, planning, thinking about my future. which everyone should do. My partner was so kind to bring me some coffee and some crumpets, which is really nice, and just had a moment eating that. And then I went outside to the sun, because the sun, you got to get some sun in right now. I reckon everyone's got vitamin D deficiency from being inside so much. So I went outside, and one of my crew came over, and I don't know if we've been having some on and off meetings. And then I traded some cryptocurrency, and I drank some water. And now I'm here and I'm sharing with everyone on this call. That's probably my morning routine. Otherwise, I would wake up and take the wolf for a walk, up to the beach and back. And yeah, I'm gonna wake at 5 o'clock. So if everyone wants to hang out at Coogee Beach, I'll be there. Quang, I know this is a strange question, but I want to know if you could choose one of the abilities like invisibility, telepathy, and teleportation. What ability would you choose and why? Well, I wouldn't be invisibility. I think I want to be visible. Telepathy would make a lot of money. Teleportation. We'll go with telepathy, because I reckon you make a lot of money, and make a lot of money, you can, make some pretty cool things happen. Imagine if I could like literally work out like, what's the price of oil going to be, and what's the RBA going to say about this rate, and I already knew, probably going to make some big money. Probably get fined for something because of that, but I'm sure we'll be able to keep it quiet and make some money. Also, we'll probably find out who's the actual founder of Bitcoin. Anyway, I agree, James. Ben, what have you found to help you overcome moments of analysis paralysis? Just do something. Just do something, anything. Just take an action. A dumb one, a smart one, just do anything. Start with momentum, because once you do something, anything, something small, you then can see what is the next step in front of you. Whereas, just do it in a small way. 5 a.m. club. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Read the book you read the book. Thank you, Link. Was it hard to open up and be as vulnerable as you were about your fails and dips? I'd say if I went back 6 years ago without, coaching myself, yes, it would have been very hard. But today I just feel I am my authentic self in and of itself, and you get what's on the tin. So I'm very comfortable with it. I own all of my mistakes. I am completely perfect in my imperfect way. All my fails and dips are part of me as well. Just like everyone else on this call, you're completely perfect in your imperfect way. What challenges did you have to overcome at the beginning of your journey? Janice, thank you for your question. So many, I don't know. I had to learn how to actually conduct business. I was actually a relatively poor entrepreneur. Like I actually was kind of average at it. I put myself at a solid 1.2 out of 10. I know I needed to make money. No idea how exactly all that went together, but I'm a solid, had to learn some fundamentals. I was pretty bad at it. I give it, solid 1.2. Anyway, so I read a lot of books. And I was the guy continually asking questions, and I still ask a lot of questions. But I would say learning business. Thank you, Nico. 5 a.m. club, hashtag, big shout out. Janice, what strategies did you first use to market your business? I used Google. My very first business was just word of mouth. Find it was all about Google search. How do you define success? Wow, that's a very interesting question. Well, yeah, I don't know whether this is right or wrong, but I just sort of take ideas. Sorry, not take ideas, but everyone says, oh, you need a purpose. How are you going to find your purpose? The way I find my purpose is, and I go through this extremely interesting process, and that is I just make it up. I just go, I want to make $1 million. That's my purpose. Or I want to, I think one of my ones was I want to drive a Bentley back into my parents' house. never bought a Bentley. Anyway, it's a long story. That was my purpose. I just wanted to build a business which made money while I slept. That was a lot like Finder. I just make stuff up. And then once you start and once you get going, then things tend to become clearer, and you'll achieve some success. And then I have to go and recreate new ones. So I just made up some more ones and keep going. And I feel like that's success. I think the other key part of success is your relationships with the people in your life. So I spent a lot of time with my friends, a lot of times with my family, and cleaned up and stuff. I also went through a big divorce in 2015. And I'm actually really good friends with my ex-wife, like amazing. You know, we go traveling together. She came and hang out the other day. She's amazing. So big shout out to her. And the big journey we took, I think the success there is to manage the relationship and also to, bring these two girls into the world that we created together. Hopefully we'll all go skiing in Christmas time together. We have done it once, but see if we can get there. What books do you recommend for startups? Go Live's pretty good, but anyway.
I was going to say that's pretty obvious. It's just a walk-up start, Fred.
Yeah, it was a nice one, but I appreciated that. Thank you, JD. But read The E-Myth. The E-Myth is a must-read. It's a book. It's a story, and then it has like the theory next to it. It's not like it's just a very straight down the barrel. This is how you build a business. I enjoyed it. My book is going to give you the mindset, so you keep going. Put the two together, you make some money.
I'm actually going to recommend, there's something that I've always thought when I entered the university sector, which I could never understand that they didn't embrace because my career was in blue chip, that they don't have, you go to a university store and they have hoodies and all that. They need to actually stock their alumni's products and books that they publish and things like that to really support, I think. And I'm going to suggest that the university stocks your book on campus.
That'd be amazing.
I think that's what we should do. We should totally support, the people that come out of the university as well, and the awesome things they go on to do.
I love that. That'd be amazing. Hopefully I can share and continue to share for everyone on this call and other calls in the future.
Do you have another book in you?
Oh yeah. I'm just writing it right now. No, I'm creating it right now, if you know what I mean. I'm on that journey. By the way, for anyone who wants to know, I've achieved a few things, but I'm actually on the journey right now to create my ultimate creation. I feel I've only just begun. Still day one for me. Vito, do you have simple, solid milestones to follow from having an idea to develop a basic functional company startup? I think I wrote in my book, there's some fundamentals. I think there's also a course on my website, and it is literally it's 6 solid long videos of specific, steps that you need to take. I think the other one is, you basically got to reverse engineer. Like imagine what does your, MVP look like, and you take the steps backwards from there. I don't think I have that written off. I wrote it down and did all the videos. I don't know how else to answer that question. It's not like I think that's a full. Melissa, maybe that's a takeaway on that one. I don't know. Bit of a journey on that. What advice would you give to new startups and entrepreneurs? Do something different. Don't do, if it's already been done, don't do it. Do something new. Be different. Actively. You know what the worst word about business, the business killer that makes me feel unwell? The word industry. What is an industry? An industry is a series of companies which are copying each other because you can bundle them all together. There's no alpha in that. There's just market. It's the same. It's like the ice cream industry. They all make ice cream. There's no differentiation. Go and create the frozen yogurt market. There's differentiation. Obviously, then everyone comes and copies you afterwards. But hey, that's another problem. Melanie, do you still want to invest in Crew Mojo?
When you were a judge at the pitch competition last year for the incubator, Crew Mojo was one of the winners, but they actually were pitching but didn't want to take money at the time. And you actually were like, no, I actually would like to put money into them, and was a bit miffed because, you know, you were saying, well, why are you pitching if you don't want to take money? So, yeah.
Repitch me, but, you know, I'm up for, I'd love to hear it again and tell me the progress.
Yeah, Mel, one of the founders' wife and daughter are actually part of the incubator team, and they're on the call. You can see them up there, Mel Lewis and her daughter.
Hello, Mel, and daughter of Mel.
Cha-cha.
Cha-cha, it's great. I'm assuming you're day one of school holidays. Mum's high-fiving. Hey, I tell you what, go and make Mum a tea because Mum's amazing. She's going to take you to all amazing places when we unlock as well. Let's go. Where are we up to? Let's talk again, Mel. Genie playing devil's advocate. Is MBA worth it, or starting a real business and learning via doing from a community? Some people get a lot of value from MBAs. Some people do, and some people don't. You know, I sort of did a personal MBA, University of Hard Knocks.
I mean, that's the ultimate MBA. If you're doing a startup, you have to almost take on every hat, every role within a company at some point, don't you?
Yeah. Although there is a lot of value, you know, if I just that's not how I learn personally. You know, I have to do those things. Crew Mojo, I like that name. I remember that. Shout out to Mel and Cha-cha. Lean startup. Yeah, I'm up for it. Save money, be frugal, do it in small ways. Janice, how have your priorities changed from when you first started? My life priorities, I'm assuming. I'm not sure how to answer that exactly. My priorities, maybe if you can clarify, Janice, on that one. I think it's tough because I could answer that in many ways. Angel, everyone talks about failures and learning from mistakes. And as a co-founder, are you comfortable or confident to take someone who did have multiple failures in your team if they are open to learning, or would that put you in a tough position? I love people who have made mistakes. Love it. I celebrate it. They're the best. And failed startup people, I hire them all day because they know how hard it is. They are the best. If you've failed a startup, please send me an email, send me a LinkedIn, Telegram, currently not working. And I don't accept really physical mail that much. JD, oh yeah, go live. All day, baby, all day. Vito, great, it's a good book to read. As a founder, Angel, I feel like hopefully I've answered that question.
No, yeah, I think she was saying that she was calling you a co-founder and apologizes and called you founder.
That's not a
you
problem.
are a co-founder.
True fact. Thank you, Ben. Janice, what have you enjoyed most about starting your own company? There's one key thing that you get with starting your own company. And so there's many downside things, and I won't get into those. I can talk about those, but it's you take on all the responsibility, all the pain, everything. You're the last one standing. And what does that mean? It's like if something happens, you're the one who's got to clean it up. And that means that echoes in all sorts of different ways. And I wanted to explain this into another level. What does the word responsibility mean? Responsibility. Let's talk about the word responsibility. Responsibility is the ability to respond to a situation. And if you are committing to anything that happens and you are willing and able and comfortable with responding, you are taking responsibility. So if you think about it, anything that's like going on and you need to respond to it, if you're able and committed, that's what responsibility means. When you start a business, you are responsible. You have absolute commitment and responsibility to that company. The upside of that part, you have one small upside that is absolutely beautiful. And that is You get to choose who you want to work with. No one else does. It's a very, very small but beautiful thing that you get to choose. That means, if you don't like someone, you don't have to work with them. You can just go, nah, I'm not that interested. And if there are people that you just want to work with people that you like, you're allowed to do that because you're responsible, which is really fun and really nice. And that magic and that idea and that concept is probably something which at first sounds obvious, but over time it only starts to shine out over time when you realize it. James Benson, how do you find the initial spark to jump down the rabbit hole of a new topic you know nothing about? AI, crypto, for example. Just start. I know a guy, here's a story. I hung out with this guy, and this guy has a lot of money, and he's a fascinating guy. Anyway, he's like kind of an entrepreneur. Anyway, long story. And he said to me, he goes, "Oh, one day I did this really weird thing." He went and bought like the top 100 cryptocurrency coins. Literally started from the top and bought like $100 from the top to the bottom. Just went, yep. And he would buy it and literally just click the mouse. Like go, okay, how do I use this thing? Does it actually work? What actually does this coin do? And just for a moment, if you think about that, that is an unbelievably brilliant idea, because you're basically getting a massive fast forward education into the latest in cryptocurrency. Imagine you did that same thing with the top 100 companies on the ASX or the NASDAQ. You went and actually went to this shop, bought something, experienced it, worked out what actually is going on, as opposed to just like blindly buying stocks. It's like literally like, this is what most people are doing. They're like, oh, my friend said that. Go and actually try the product. And then all the questions you have, go back to Google and read about them. Or watch a YouTube clip. Angel, you're welcome. Melanie Lewis, can't wait to read your book. I couldn't wait to write it either now. Thanks for your authenticity insights. Our students won't stop raving about this afternoon. I hope there's a replay. Top moments cut together, Melissa. Top 10 moments of things Fred said. Can't 100%. Believe he said that. How did you establish your corporate culture? I just was always protective of it. There are certain things that I believed, certain truths which I thought about business, and I just didn't really care what anyone else thought. I just went and did it. And I think those sort of unusual rules and unusual things which make your company what your company is exactly what creates a culture. It's how you behave and the attitude and the way you answer questions. Like, obviously I'm extremely authentic, and one of our values at Finder is to be straight up. Just tell it as it is. So even if I say something really harsh, it's coming from a loving and supporting place, and I'm just being me. And everyone knows that and feels that. Like, I literally have no malice. I have so much love. And that's hard to deal with, I can imagine, for a lot of people, but they get used to that. They're like, oh, he's just being Fred. Like, it's fine. They carry on. And so what I suggest is just be you, and it'll come out naturally. How did you first select your employees? I just hired people that I wanted to work with. I thought I wanted to work with, and I removed the people I didn't. That's probably not the best answer. I also do psychometric texting. So I do DISC profiles and I do Myers-Briggs. I find them extremely helpful. They are insightful. There's not all the answer, but I actually used to do IQ tests as well, which I think are great. And just because someone, has a certain profile or does certain things a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that's the answer, because it's all relative. You need to combine it all together. And then at the end of the day, I think you just feel it. That sounds weird, but you just feel it. You go, yeah. And sometimes, and then as you're going along, if you feel It's like, oh, no, something's weird. It's not quite right. Change it early on, because those first 10, 25 people, let's call it, especially the first 10, if not the first 25, they make the culture, they make your company, they set the tone. So go and deal with that. Right now, who's that person? Literally, if they weren't in the company, it would make everyone feel a little bit better. Go and deal with them right now after this call. That's going to be very tough for you, Mel, in your organization. Smiling on the inside. How do you keep moving forward if exhausted? That's interesting. What was your motivation? So when I get exhausted, I actually do work and burn out on purpose. When I have something that I really love, I will not stop until I burn out. And then I'll just be like a bit of a marsh for a few days. How do I deal with that? Well, I make space to rest. And as much as you need to, you think, oh, I can keep going, you're actually becoming really inefficient and boring as well, because you're losing creativity, and you want to reboot that and reboot yourself and get back to being the person that you ultimately are, because you're awesome and you're one of the greatest assets your company has at the beginning. So make the space and just take a bit of time out. So what do? I go for a walk, or I go for a run. I should go and buy a chicken burger. I love chicken burgers, especially Portuguese burgers. Lots of spice, a little bit of chips, always does well for me. And it's just that journey, and whatever that fun thing is for you, go and do. Try and not make it destructive, just make it constructive as best you possibly can, but be kind to yourself. Go and do that, reboot yourself, and go again. What was your motivation? I just want to win. That's actually genuinely one of my things. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I just love winning. I love playing Monopoly until it's all done. Even if I lose, I want to play to the very last roll. Just maybe I'll get a roll and I'll win. Pragmatism. I agree, Melanie. Brenton, appreciate your time, Fred. I have to jump to another meeting. Thank you, Brenton, for joining us. Janice, in the early stages of your entrepreneur's career, you may have perceived success differently than you do now. I do. For example, you may focus more on growth at the beginning stage. How do you prioritize changes along the course of establishing the business? Prioritization and with that capital allocation, in other words, your time, energy, capital, money, technology, is one of your most important debates and conversations you should have. You should spend 50% of your time doing operations, and the left 50%, I think you should be thinking about where do we focus. That sounds like, I know it doesn't sound logical, but if you're climbing up the ladder as fast as you can, but you're leaning up against the wrong tree, there's no point climbing up the ladder. You could have just not climbed the ladder. And so you want to know all the time, am I up against the right tree? And then go and climb it real fast as you can. But a little less speed and more focus, I tend to think is a good thing. How do you prioritize that? I host debates. I write down answers. I take both sides and I host those debates. And I encourage the team, including everyone in the team, to debate it out. And everyone tends to have some pretty good ideas. Listen to those and then ultimately make a decision. And then I make sure people disagree and commit. Disagree and commit, you can Google that. Disagree and commit is essentially where someone else may disagree, but you're asking them, yes, we disagree. We've heard what you said, but I'm asking you now to commit. We've made a decision as a team. And as long as everyone's involved and committed, then we go forward because everyone's been heard. The worst thing is if you don't ask for that, you get alligator hands. The alligator hands, what happens is this. You're doing a project and someone who's not really on board with it, and then you ask them for their help and they're like, oh, geez, I can't really help you right now. I've got alligator hands. I can't quite get that done. That is no commitment. That's because you didn't ask for it and you need to get that. And that is how you establish priority.
I think this will be our last question from Lisa, so we can wrap up and give you a rest, Fred.
Yeah, we're rolling here. Thanks for your time. Learn lots. Hope our paths cross again. Well, that's up to Melissa. Melissa, hopefully I earn an invite back, maybe.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're a very generous and authentic individual. So.
Janice asked me about funding. I didn't actually raise any funding ever for Finder. Just it's all bootstrapped. So, and I'm in a fundraising process now. So
it's like SurveyMonkey.
Survey Monkey, yeah. Lisa, thanks for that. My MVP has been live and now it needs a better IT partner as current partner is lacking experience. How did you source your developers or finder with limited funds at the beginning days? I just asked for people. I just asked people for referrals. Hey, do you know any developers that are really good? Does anyone know anyone? Need some help?
Any going cheap?
Not even cheap. You don't want necessarily cheap, like good value.
Yeah, that's
going to create code long term, going to listen, can deal with me changing my mind early on, particularly when you're during MVP. And one idea is what you're focused on tomorrow, you're focused on something else, because that's actually what you should be doing, changing and focusing and testing.
Look at that, Fred, in there. We've got a connection just happened. So we've got a coder, a tech person, IT person in the chat who's just reached out to Lisa.
Brilliant. There we
are.
What we
like to see. Perfect.
That's called, going back to the original question, if I'm not mistaken, someone was talking about the compounding of entrepreneurship. There's compounding right there for you. Awesome. Should we pause there? Would you like me to pause
I think we need to let you get back to your day. I'm sure you've got to do a bit more cryptocurrency trading before the sun sets.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the market's 24/7, but I'm just going to make sure that I have not missed anything. Yes, I'm okay. I don't have to apologize to anyone. I get carried away. Thank you very much, everyone, for entertaining me and giving me the opportunity to share. And hopefully there was some small bit of idea or wisdom that you took from that. If not, too bad.
So if also anyone still wants more or want to know more from Fred, obviously get his book. So Go Live, 10 Principles to Launch a Global Empire, and currently an Amazon #1 bestseller. So we're very grateful that you spent so much time with us and shared so much about your personal journey and also your philosophy on life, which is completely inspiring. And we love having you around. So hopefully we'll be seeing you again. This has been recorded, so it will be put online so people can watch the whole thing. And I think that Fred's right. We might have to do a couple of highlight reels and share those as well. So I think there's a lot of pearlers in there. So people will be able to just sort of pick and choose what they'd like to hear about. And I think that will be really helpful, but just awesome to have you and really appreciative of your time. Thank you very much, Fred.
You're welcome. And thanks very much, everyone.